Hello and welcome to episode 64 of the MR Runningpains podcast. My name is Aaron Saft, and today I am going to talk about treadmill running. I often use the treadmill for multiple purposes, and a lot of times I think there's a stigma with the treadmill. A lot of runners feel like maybe it isn't true training, but I want to go over some things that can really benefit you from using the treadmill in proper ways. I know as a parent that I wouldn't have gotten in so many runs if I didn't have access to that treadmill. My wife being a doctor, her schedule, a lot of times, I just was home with the kids, especially when they were younger. I obviously couldn't leave them, so I'd have to jump on the treadmill while, they played in the basement or, watch TV or whatever it may be, so that I could, get my run in. But, I actually have grown to enjoy the treadmill. Truth be told, I have set up a TV and DVD player, and I have Netflix and all that stuff hooked up to the TV, so I have some visual stimulus. I definitely could not do it without that. I am not one that can just listen to music and run on a treadmill. My wife can do that. I don't know how, but I've gone as far as probably 22 miles on the treadmill, and I know people that have gone further. So, it is a great training tool for those that need it, for those that have access to it. For those that are wondering how they're going to get things in, it might be a worthy investment to get, because there are so many things that you can do with the treadmill, and that's some of the things I want to go over. I last year, as I've kind of talked about on this podcast, took a step back and really focused on gaining my aerobic fitness back. I went to basics, and I actually use the treadmill quite often. I got myself a chest strap heart rate monitor. They're no affiliation to the brand, but I got the Wahoo, and I've been really pleased with it. It linked with my treadmill, so my treadmill could tell me, what my heart rate was without having to look at my watch or change the screen on my watch. And I was able to make sure I wasn't going too hard and monitor, my heart rate, and really be in tune with what the effort that I was putting out, which in a lot of these workouts came in super handy and gave me some extra data points. Also used, again, no affiliation, the Coros Apex Pro watch. Most of their watches have a indoor running setting, and it works off of the motion of your body, and kind of gets an idea of what you ran, and then you can adjust it at the end based off what the treadmill is telling you did for distance. So you can adjust it before it uploads to whatever platform you use, fitness platform you use. So I really liked my Coros for that. So, like I said, I want to get into kind of some workouts that I do and use the treadmill for. I think it can be, like I said, just a super helpful tool. One thing that I really like treadmills for, and they're getting better and better at because the technology just keeps developing, is incline. A lot of the treadmills now, you can go on a run. iFit uses this technology, and you basically go on a run somewhere else, wherever it may be. Let's just say you went running in Hawaii, and it would change the incline of the treadmill so that it goes up and down with the variation in what you're watching on the monitor. I think that's pretty cool, but I don't have that. So my treadmill goes up to 20% incline. I don't have one that goes much higher than that, but that's sufficient for me. As we've discussed, listening to I think it was the Coopcast said, when they talked about power hiking, at what incline does it become more efficient for one to power hike? And it's just below 16%. So I always use 16% incline as my kind of standard for if I'm going to practice power hiking. For those that are training for a mountain race, this is a great way for you to train by using the incline on the treadmill. Just at first, just kind of getting used to hiking at incline. You may even want to start a little bit less incline and kind of work into it. Feeling it out, just kind of seeing what your heart rate does. That's again, a great metric to tell how hard you're going, and make sure you're not going too hard. At 16%, that's definitely challenging. As you get used to that, usually I start out with like 10-minute intervals. I'll do like 2 by 10 minutes with like a little bit of rest in between, maybe 3 minutes of rest. Typically bring the incline down to 0 for my rest. So I'll do a warm up. I usually run for my warm up. I get about maybe like 15 minutes of jogging in. Then I'll jack the incline up to 16% and hike for 10 minutes. Then I'll drop it down to 0 and either walk or jog depending on how I'm feeling, and then ramp it back up, get it back up to 16%, another 10 minutes, and then bring it back down to 0 and jog cool down 10 or 15 minutes. And it's a great workout. You can add challenge if you like on the incline portions by using a weighted vest. Something that we've talked about here in the past and has become more and more popular. Ian Sharman has been really a great advocate for that. He's written a few articles in Ultra Running Magazine. Patrick Regan actually put it into my training when he was training me. And that's where I really became familiar with the weighted vest. I use a weighted vest that I bought from Dick's Sporting Goods by Fitness Gear. I'll try to remember to put that in the show notes so that you guys can take a look. But it's great because it uses 2-pound weights, individual 2-pound weights, and you can put in as much as you want. So you can start on the lighter side. I like to make sure the vest is even on the front and the back for weight so that it's evenly distributed. And then at first, really, you don't need much more than 12 pounds to kind of get used to it. I went for a weighted vest walk the other day outside, and I had 20 pounds. It's definitely a lot heavier. You can use your hydration pack and just fill up your bladder with water and add some water bottles to the front. That will be weight as well. I've had athletes that just use a hiking pack with books. Whatever you have access to, be creative and use if you need to make more challenge. 16% is definitely challenging enough. The only downside is that, if you practice or plan to use poles, you won't be able to practice with those on the treadmill. But, like I said, having that weighted vest kind of gets you used to that weight distribution on your back and actually strengthens some core muscles. So that's a fantastic way to get a little bit of strength workout in. And you can also use the weighted vest for strength training, right? So there's plenty of things you can do with the weighted vest for strength training. A lot of my athletes, I have them do David Roche's speed legs workout. And that's a YouTube video. I'm going to put that as well in the show notes, but you can take a look at that, and you can actually do that with a weighted vest once you get more advanced with it. So weighted vest, super super handy tool. Again, don't need to buy one if you just use your book bag and some books or your hydration pack and some water in there and load that up. But like I said, that's great practice. Especially if you're an ultra runner, it's always good to be more efficient at hiking and practice hiking, especially at incline. Definitely, it's a great aerobic exercise. You gain a lot of fitness and a lot of strength from doing so. So I encourage you to add that into your training. Depending, like I said, you don't want it to be too hard, so you could actually do it on a recovery day and just make it, part of your recovery, as long as you're not making it too hard. Because if you make it too hard, obviously, defeats the purpose of a recovery day. But it's a great place to insert it into your training. On normal runs, speaking of incline, I usually keep my incline at 1.5 to 2%. Obviously, the tread is moving and pulling your foot back, so you're getting a little bit of pull from the tread. That's why some people feel like it's not doing as much. So if you add the incline, you're creating a little bit more as if you were outside on a flat road. So that's kind of the 1.5 to 2%. That's what I like for my normal runs. I also, speaking of incline, I do increasing incline runs. So I may start out just warming up at that 2% incline, and then over the course of the run, after I'm warmed up, I start gradually increasing the incline by 0.5%. Each half mile to mile, and just kind of gradually building it up. I usually work my way up to 7% without decreasing the speed. If anything, I actually try to increase the speed and create more challenge. Again, this is where a heart rate monitor comes in handy. You just want to make sure that it's not too taxing. You want to watch that heart rate, make sure it's not going up too high, and you're not going into zones that you don't want to be in, because you'll have to recover from it. So, but it's a really cool way to kind of break things up, because it diverts your attention, and you're thinking about, okay, when do I need to increase my incline? But yeah, I like to go up to about 7% on those runs. And some of those runs, I create a goal, like a gain goal. How many feet can I gain? Let's say, I'd like to gain 2,000 feet in this run. So I'll start, again, doing it that way, and then kind of determining, do I need to increase it more to hit my goal? And basically, try to hit that goal by the end of my run. I've got a set time that I want to be running for, and I want to hit that distance. So just want to make sure that I'm getting there. And I've definitely gone up beyond 7% on some runs just to make sure I hit that goal. But just a different way to do it, and kind of a fun workout is setting that gain goal. We did something back in the day at FooterX. We called it the 10-10 challenge. We ran 10 minutes at 10% incline. You've probably seen some videos where they've had the challenge where it's like 15% for 15 minutes. The more human version of it is 10% for 10 minutes. And you can do that as a time trial. Just stick it in every once in a while and see, can I get faster? Can I go further? So you can do time trials like that. And if you're feeling, that you want to increase that to, whatever you want, but I think that's a great starting point. It's 10% is definitely one of those inclines that is challenging, yet you can probably still run and actually pick up, to faster speeds. Whereas, obviously if you increase the incline, it's going to be more and more difficult. So I like that 10% for 10 minutes, little time trial that you can stick in, maybe once a month, just kind of see where you're at and see how you're doing, see if you're getting more efficient on the climbs. With all these workouts, hopefully, you are. So other ones, I like doing hill repeats. Those can be just like your intervals, which we'll talk about intervals later on. But like hill strides, I think doing 20 to 30 second surges on the treadmill at a fast speed. This would be probably like 5K effort, 5K pace on the treadmill. And if you do, 20 seconds, I usually take about a minute 10 rest, just so it's easy for me to calculate. I know, when that next interval is going to start. And usually with hill repeats, I just keep it at incline. I just hop off the treadmill and just rest, or hop off on the rails and just rest. And then when it's time to go again, I hop back on. Usually make sure you hold the rails when you hop back on, just so you don't slip. But that's another way to do strides and work on hill repeats. Hill repeats are great for form, working on speed and turnover. So great to implement into your running. Hill repeats are wonderful. We've talked about that in the past as well. A ton of other things that you can do with incline on the treadmill, but those are just a few ideas for you guys. Other things. Progression runs. It's probably my favorite workout on the treadmill is progression runs. And they can be done a number of ways, but, progression runs, obviously you're just trying to get faster over the course of the run. These are, kind of like my normal runs. I set the incline at 2%. And always start out nice and easy, right? Just warming up. Okay, give myself like 2 miles just to kind of warm up, get the legs ready. And then I start, one way I do it is I start increasing my speed, just like we talked about earlier with increasing the incline. I increase my speed, maybe, 0.1 or 0.2 every like half mile to mile, depending on my goal, how fast I want to get, and just building that up over the duration of my run, so that, I finish fast. Again, here's where heart rate comes in handy. I want to make sure that, if I'm in a certain phase of training that I'm not going beyond a certain heart rate. So, I'm monitoring to make sure that I know what zone I'm in and how hard it is. And obviously I don't get too hard. So, but that's a fun way to do things. Again, kind of takes your mind off of the fact that you're running, because you're thinking, do I need to increase my speed? Good way to do things. Other way I do things is after the 2 mile warm up, I'll have a set time or distance that I am going to run at a certain pace or speed, and then once that that time is over, kind of like a tempo, I'll increase the pace again and run for another duration, maybe shorter depending on how hard it is. For instance, I like to do one that's 2 mile warm up, and then I'll do 4 miles at at a moderate pace, maybe like kind of around, I don't know, somewhere between half marathon and marathon pace. And then I'll do another 4 miles more towards half marathon pace. And then I'll do 2 miles at like 10K pace. So it's a gradual increase in pace and effort. And then, I actually end it after the hard effort. I don't typically cool down. You certainly can. That workout is long enough for me. 2, 4, 6. So then that's 12 miles of running in the workout. So obviously you can cool down if you have the time and want to. I typically just end on the fast note. And I mean, I do walk, so I guess I do cool down in some regard. I do a little bit of a walk to let my heart rate come down before I hop off the treadmill. But that's another way to do progression runs. And then obviously, like the last one, which I touched on earlier, is intervals. Intervals are they're great on the treadmill. You can do them fartlek style. And by fartlek style, what I mean is that you don't have a predetermined workout, nor do you have a certain interval in your mind. You may just hit a random speed on the board and just hold it for as long as you can, and then slow it down and jog until you feel recovered, and then hit another speed. A totally different speed. Could be slower, could be faster. And then hold that for whatever you feel. And then hit a slower button and jog. You're working all different ranges of speeds and durations, intensities. So it's great. And you could do the same thing. You could add incline, right? You could throw the incline up and then hit a speed. And then, bring the incline down. You can mess with all of those factors. That's a great way to do a fartlek. That the fartlek was used by by Lydiard, Arthur Lydiard, on single track trails, because single track trails kind of replicate that. With the up and down of the trails, you kind of speed up, slow down. So it's a great way to do it on the treadmill. So use a fartlek style workout to do it. You could have set intervals, right? And set intervals can be by time. You could do 1 minute hard, 1 minute easy. You could do it by distance, quarter mile hard, quarter mile easy. And so those are your more intense intervals. We talked about that with RPE, how, when we do intensities, our shorter, faster, more anaerobic intervals are definitely, they're, 1-to-1. So hard interval, to, recovery. So if you do 1 minute hard, you do 1 minute easy. As you get more towards your threshold intervals, you're doing the interval, and the rest is half of the actual interval. So, but that's another way to do things. And the other thing for intervals is strides. Just as we did hill repeats, you can do strides. And do strides at the end of your run. 20-second strides with a minute 10 rest, just like you did with the hill repeats, but just keep it at that 2% incline. Just speed it up and slow it down. It's a good way to do strides. I know your stride's a little bit awkward on the treadmill, so obviously not the most ideal thing for practicing just flat strides, but something else that you can do on the treadmill. So as I said, treadmills can be extremely useful. Really, a really, good training tool for me. I think that, we worry that, we're not outside and on the trails, but they have their place, if you use them properly. Especially, like I said, for busy folks, they can be a great training tool. So, hopefully, you could use some of this stuff in your training. And, if you got that treadmill that's collecting dust down in the basement, you've got all the old clothes hung up all over it, maybe dust it off and throw in a workout. See how it goes. See what you think. Find an old TV and throw it down there, and we have something to watch, and it's not so bad. But yeah, so that's what I got for the treadmill workouts. Other things that are going on. Newsletter, it should be out by the time I release this. I am recording on May 4th, so May the 4th be with you. It should be out by Thursday, and I've got a few gear reviews in there, and shoe reviews, some training things, and just some stories and stuff. So check out the newsletter. Try to put as much helpful stuff as I can in there. So that should be coming out. If you haven't subscribed, you can go to my website, which is mrrunningpains.com, and subscribe on there. All the old newsletters and podcasts are archived under the Connect page, so you can check those out there as well. Other things going on. Want to say a big thank you to one of my best friends, Dave Workman. Just kind of randomly texted me last Monday and asked me if I wanted to do the Art Loeb Trail. Art Loeb, for those that don't know, is a 30-mile trail here in western North Carolina. It has 9,000 feet of vertical gain, and is, it can be pretty burly, obviously, in sections. If you remember last year, if you were listening at that time, I was going to go for the FKT. I sustained a calf injury, so that didn't occur. And I talked about last week how Javen Lapp just ran an outstanding FKT on it. So, Grant Burnett just messaged me, and it sounds like he's going to go for the unsupported record, which I don't think there is one at the moment. Dave and I did do it unsupported, but we just had a great time and just really enjoyed the trail, enjoyed the day. It was a beautiful day. We did it, like I said, unsupported style. It was pretty crazy. I practiced with my poles. brought those out there. Just got an email today. Somebody was asking about the wait list for Hard Rock, and they were saying that, do you think that's going to move? And the answer was probably not. So me being much later in the wait list, it doesn't look like I'm going to get in this year, which is a bummer. So it looks like I'll be switching over to my plan B for running Grindstone, because I'll need another qualifier this year. But yeah, and either way, it was great. We had a great day. It was so much fun. Really, I just kept things simple. I definitely overpacked. My pack was so full of stuff. I'm going to talk about that in my newsletter, all the stuff that I carried that I didn't even use, but ended up just having 2 king-size Snicker bars that I ate. Those have 2 bars in each package, so I had 4 bars, and just Tailwind. We filtered 3 times. I used my Katahdin Be Free. I had a 1 liter filter, and we just filter our own water 3 times. So I had started with 2 bottles. The first time I filtered 2 more bottles. The next time I filtered 3 more bottles, and then the last time I filtered 2. So, and I just carried extra Tailwind with me. I had the individual packets, and it worked out great. I felt great. I felt awesome. Dave had a little bit of a struggle with his stomach, which made it rough on the backside. We definitely slowed down a lot on the backside. We were definitely sub 7 hour pace, and had to walk a bit more, which was totally fine. Like I said, we didn't have any goals. We were just out there to do it, and it was great. It was awesome. I loved it. Had an awesome experience. So, like I said, check out the newsletter. I'm going to give a more detailed, obviously, report there. And, talk about my gear and everything else, all the stuff that I didn't need. So super cool. Appreciate that, Dave. Thank you, sir. Really cool time. Mr. Keegan is supposed to be, he was supposed to race today. That did not happen, unfortunately. We had a weather system move in here into Western North Carolina. That canceled the meet today. So Thursday, it'll be after this podcast releases. Keegan will be running his final regular season meet, and I'm sure he's going to crack my best from middle school. So fingers crossed for him. I hope he has a great race, and the kids are doing great. It's fun. It's a great time. So he's doing awesome, and really proud of him. It's been fun to watch. If he does it, I think we'll have to have him on the podcast and do an interview with him and talk to him about it, because that was a lot of fun. I've got some really cool special guests coming up, and I say that, and we know the way that scheduling works these days. You do your best to schedule something, and things fall through. But I have touched base with Stephanie Howe-Violette and Kenyon Woodard. Both of them are going to come on, and we are going to talk about Protect Our Winners. Great organization that's doing amazing things, and they have some great insight into how we can all help and be a part of the solution, right? Of protecting our lands and being better to the environment. So I look forward to that conversation. We will probably release that next week, so that will probably be my next episode. The episode that I've been promising with my best friends Scott Socha and Joe Quinlan, that we will be recording next week. So I'm excited for that. And I've got a confirmation from my physical therapist Miriam. She is going to help me, and we're going to record the shin splint special episode. So number of things coming up. I apologize again to all that I haven't gotten the guests back on. I do need to reach back out to Natalie Daniels. She did finish the Brute Challenge. I'd like to hear how that wrapped up, and and follow up on that. So I'm going to be reaching out to her. So it sounds like we got plenty of guests coming up in the future here, and I'm excited about that. So, but as always, guys, I really appreciate your time, and thanks for listening. Anytime you have questions, I appreciate it. Got a message the other day just asking about footwear, which was really cool. I really like to talk about footwear and prospects, things that might be good, insights, things that I've used. So you got questions about anything, don't hesitate to reach out. I really appreciate you guys, and thank you for listening. Until next time, keep running, my friends.